need to hold on to everything. I don't know what to say now. I need to hold on to. Take much more now. I can't hold on to everything. I don't know what to say now.
Alright, hello and welcome to console training. My name is Alex Hughes. We're going to do a quick little audio check. Then we're going to start. Hello and welcome to console training. My name is Alex Hughes. We're going to do a quick little audio check. Audio check done, so I can hear myself. Let me know if others can/can't hear me. And feel free to ask the questions in the chat. I apologize if I miss your question. But let's begin with my very misshapen sort of three-way split view. Let's just move the visualizer over. Whoops. You know, it's funny, I stared at this thing for like 10 minutes and I couldn't spot anything wrong with it. And then the moment you go live, you're like, oh yeah, there's a logo where there shouldn't be one. Ah, you know what? Let's just point that there. So let me know whether you can hear. My name is Alex Hughes. I'm floating in space because I have a green screen behind me and I don't have enough arm length. Anyway, we're not here to look at me, we're here to look at lighting stuff. So I'm going to jump into a suggestion that I've already had, which was the basis of this stream. We're using L8 today, but L8's not the reason that we're streaming today. We're streaming for MA. So we've got an an MA3 light console sitting in front of me, and we've got L8 as the visualizer. So we're going to start by building a multi-part fixture. So what we might do is I've just got one of our old L8 tutorial files up, but we might jump in and we'll add a fixture, because the question that people seem to struggle with is, how do I build a fixture in L8? No, sorry, in MA. Sorry, I'm staring at L8 and my brain is in L8 world. Yeah, so what do we want to fetch? We want to fetch something that's, helpful, but not, not too painful to create. How's everyone's lockdown going? You having fun? Try to think of a fixture that I want to do. What about something that's not, too crazy? It's mainly multi-part things that seem to tangle people. I could have been prepared, but I looked at the question and went, you know what, that's a really easy one to answer. Will we ever work again? Yeah, we'll work again. There'll be time. Don't worry about it. Will the industry ever be the same again? No. I think we've learnt that a lot of people were wrong in their assessments, and that in fact, yes, we can actually work from home, which was, not exactly a misnomer, but it was definitely something that people didn't believe. Steve's question, do you have MA hardware? Yes, so I've got and what you're actually looking at is the MA3 Lite. So if I was to transition to the other camera and remove me, you'll see that I'm sitting in front of a terrible green screen and an MA3 Lite. We might stick with that view for the moment, because then at least you can see what I'm doing. And we're going to build a fixture file for this LED strip. Yeah, perfect. So it's in Universe 13.1. Let's have a look at it. Let's turn everything else off. We don't have anything else on for the moment. L8, as I said, is only a means to an end. We're doing MA today, so it looks like we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cell fixture. So let's build a multi-part fixture. So this is called a DMX LED tube. So we'll go into patch fixture schedule, and what I might do is I might fork this show file actually, because we're not doing a showcase anymore, we're doing a live stream. MA QnA, because then I can delete stuff, because as you might be able to see, I'm quite close to my parameter count, so we're going to dump a bunch of stuff that we won't be using today, giving back some parameters. So building a fixture file, it's not as hard as it sounds. We start in fixture types, we go add, and we give it a name. So let's call it the A Hughes strip, something different. We'll also give it a name, just a short name, and let's say I created it, because I am amazing, apparently. Not really. We then go edit, and we want to create the fixture. So it looks like it's just RGB cells. Let's check and confirm that. So change to live chat there, lovely. Let me locate fixture in the world of 3D space, and we'll see how many channels it takes up. Yep, so it's just RGB cells, nice and simple. So it's just a bunch of RGB cells. So it's 8 RGB cells. So we're going to firstly add in a dimmer, and we're not going to give it a channel. That's how we do virtual dimmers. You just don't add in a channel. It still consumes a parameter, but you know, we don't care. It's better to have dimmer control. And then we just need to add in R/C invert, which is CMY just inverted. So if it was a CMY fixture, we'd just run an invert like this, and it'd be inverted. Hey Ronnie, how are you, mate? Good to have you in the stream. Let me know if the resolution's not the best, or I need to punch up one of the screens rather than doing the view that I'm running currently. So we've got essentially just an RGB parkad built currently, and because we're going to use a dimmer, we're going to set the defaults to be 100, and we're going to set 100 for the highlight. So when we highlight through it, it turns all of it on. So that's essentially an RGB parkad that we've built there. Super not hard, super not painful. But what we need to do is we need now to make this into 8 instances. So rather than patching 8 different individual cells, we want to be able to patch one fixture. Not hard. So we go into module manager, and if we had multiple module types, we'd do that there. But here we're only using one module type. So we go into instance manager, and here we can see module type. I actually might go back into module manager. So module manager is used for if you've got, let's say, a BI where you've got, you know, the 0.1 part that says this is the pan and tilt part, and then, you know, then you've got other bits that are just RGB cells. So in this case, they're all just RGB cells, but we're just going to go RGB cell. Then when we come into instance manager, we can see that it's an RGB cell. So we want to add, what was it, 8 instances? And we just want to add 8 RGB instance cells. Now, we can also put in sort of a bit more 3D information. So we know that they go from left to right, hopefully. So if we go from 0 through 1, we'll end up with, you know, something that's 1 meter long, essentially. Not that this information really matters. Then we just need to key in our patch. Now we can go 1, 4, 7 and so on, but what we're actually going to do is we're going to work out what the last cell starts on. So again, if we navigate and find our RGB strip, and we look here, I could also break out a calculator, we can see that the last RGB cell starts on 22. So if I go 1 through 22, we're going to end up with, hopefully, a fixture that is 24 channels. And if we now go back and save and click on it, we can now see that yes, it's a 24 channel fixture. So we'll now patch and test and see whether it works. So we come out here, we go new layer, we'll call it LED strip. Find our fixture. Let's patch one of them. Let's patch it to universe 13.1 because we've got a fairly full show file here. And let's give it a fixture ID that I can actually remember of 101. I know there'll be something. No, apparently I haven't used 101 before. So now, if we call up fixture 101 and bring the dimmer up, we get nothing. Now, I could have just screwed myself by, yes, I'm only outputting 12 universes. So now if I output 14, that light should come on. There we go, see? It's like I knew how to create a fixture. So now we've got an LED strip, and if we modify the colours, you can see that the colours get modified. So if I add all the red and put in all the green, we can see that it's a fixture that works. Now we can check that it's got all its cells by using the highlight function. So if we turn on highlight and we click through, we see that the either the fixture is backwards or the addressing is wrong. So I reckon I've just inverted the fixture incorrectly, but what we can do in this situation is, especially if you find you've got, you know, let's say an X20 bar or something that doesn't look right, or, you know, the cells are in the wrong direction, you can actually just jump in, go AQ strip, instance manager, select them bottom to top, and go 1 through 22. And that's going to invert the fixture. Save, and then if we select 101 again with highlight on, they are still in the wrong order. Interesting. I actually have encountered this before. I have a feeling that if I unpatch it or change it to something else, it will come good. Because I've used this trick with X20 bars with great success before, and I know my math works out. Helps if you don't bring up the intensity to full. There we go. So despite the channeling being backwards, because I may have tilted it the wrong direction, we now have a fixture that works in the right order. And now if we go 101 and we run, you know, a pretty RGB chase, we'll get it doing RGB chasey sort of things. Hey Amir, nice to see you, buddy. Of course, we're playing in your favourite visualizer. Been really enjoying all your Eurovision content. Looks like your Eurovision content's going to be more popular than the real Eurovision show, given that it's not going ahead. Such is life, hey? So that's multi-part fixtures. Not actually too hard to do. Otto asks, pixel mapping and MA3. We're not doing MA3 for a couple of reasons. I haven't had a chance to sit down with it to a confident level. And also ACT Lighting do amazing courses. Like all of their courses that are currently online and free are just absolutely fantastic. I just advocate for doing theirs, you know. I could waste my time fumbling through it, but you're just better to go and do the real courses that they offer. So I mean, I'm here. We're doing stuff. I'm happy to build macros for people as well. I'm kind of, you know, kind of content to build anything or do anything for anyone today. You know, we're here to have fun and for me to drink this beer. We can also do L8 stuff if that is what really interests people. But I've kind of done, you know, I want to do more L8 content and I want to do like a basic series. And perhaps if I, you know, hadn't jumped into this stream tonight, maybe I would have done it tonight. But, you know, here we are. I really want to do some MA stuff because I've got such a really good setup for MA. The windows I'm not exactly happy with, the way that, you know, you can't kind of see the screens. But at least you can see the screen straight out of the console, which is a massive improvement. And a bit of a tricky thing to do, actually, to be honest. I just love strobes in L8. Can you give some tips regarding the new snapping system in L8? The new snapping system? Has it changed any from when we both demoed it in separate times? I mean, I can have a look. I can briefly show what Amir is talking about. It's actually quite simple. So if I grab just a bit of this truss and I pull it out of its alignment for a sec, we've got these lovely tools. Let me punch up actually L8. Hang on. I think I can do it like this. Yep, perfect. So this is L8. We're going to do a really quick one. On top of the normal way that we can position things, we can also use a new tool which essentially allows you to, if I hadn't rotated the truss it would have been a lot better, but allows you to sort of snap objects in place. So rather than just manually dragging, I can get an object close, and you'll probably be able to see my mouse cursor. When I get to a certain point it snaps in, and the same works for fixtures. So if I was to grab, not all of these fixtures, they all have different heights. If I was to grab all three of these fixtures and put them at, you know, I went through the through button. What I'm actually looking for is greater than 3. So we've got these on really weird heights, but now if I grab the align tool and bring them up and actually grab the fixture that I want, I can snap it to the truss. And if I was in line with the truss, that would probably work. There we go. So it just snaps to the truss like that. How did you do it from the console? What do you mean, Steve? What's your question regarding that? How do you get the MA3 screen on your stream? Well, that's an industry secret. No, I'm not going to make it an industry secret, I'll tell you. The answer is, it's a pain in the ass. So that's not MA's fault. The reason it's a bit of a pain in the ass is, for those that are unaware, on the back of an MA2 console, you've got DVI outputs. And you can take those DVIs, you can convert them to HDMI, and you can go into a HDMI capture card. Done. It'll just work. It sees them as monitors, you know, and then all you have to do is jump in, go wing and monitor setup, and set your two external displays to your to just mirror your 3 and 2 screens. MA3 is a bit of a different story. They put DisplayPort, which is a lockable connector, on the back of the console, which is a good thing, but that's not powered, which means you can't just hang a DisplayPort to HDMI adapter off the back of it. So what I've had to do is I go DisplayPort out into essentially a DisplayPort splitter, and it's a powered DisplayPort splitter, which means I can inject power there, and then I can go DisplayPort to HDMI to then come into two NDI encoders, which are Bird Dog Studios, which are a really cool thing. They take SDI or HDMI in and then spit it out over the network via NDI. So to give you another idea, the benefit of NDI means that I can do stuff, really crazy stuff like this. So NDI is basically a capture card over the internet. So rather than having to have a physical capture card, I can go NDI here and I can pull in, once it loads, I can pull in my MA. So I've got it running to the stream, and now I've got, if I crop it correctly, I've got my MA2 screen in my viz. And in the same time that I touch buttons here, it appears there. So that's how I've done it with the MA3. It's a bit of a screw around, to be honest, to get output out of an MA3, but for what I do, it's essential. So I, you know, even during the shutdown period, I had to spend a lot of money doing R&D and managed to luck into another Australian that had done it with some cheap hardware. How do you get the air? Okay, will it be recall to see a space value? It's the snap option, so I can take the clamp into consideration. Yes, that's true. So Amir is talking about the snapping object, snapping procedure that I showed before. Currently you get to a certain point and objects just kind of snap, which is both good and bad. He would like to be able to set a value so that it takes into account the clamp of the fixture. Right now it just sort of hard snaps. It'd be nice. Yeah, you're right. Well, maybe suggest that. Dimitri's really good at adding things in, so maybe suggest that you want to add in a distance. But I reckon people are going to complain and go, well, why are my lights snapping with a certain distance? And also, that hasn't snapped to the same height as its friends, has it? No. Because when I built this, I didn't snap them. I think I just built it. You can also use the active... You can't use active display adapters on the back of an MA3. Unless you're powering it externally. The DisplayPort adapters on the back of an MA3, as far as I've been told by MA, Show Technology, my local distributor, every man and his dog, are not active. You can't run adapters off this. I did try. I can take the same cables, because technically I've got DisplayPort to HDMIs, and I plug them straight in the back in, and it detects something, but it freaks out my displays and doesn't work. How do you set up a show file for a band that goes on tour? I mean, like cloning and morphing wise. The best way I've found with doing that is program with an even amount of fixtures is step 1. Step 2 is... Wonder why that's happening. Step 2 is build a nice sort of, not layout, but a way of... And build a nice layout where you can literally copy one from the other. So this rig is not really nice and clonable. Let's see what else I've got that we can clone from that I can pull up on a stream. Pull up Falls Festival. I thought I had something that would be perfect for this. Maybe I didn't build it on this computer. We might just build one, which also means that I can kind of show how to build files. So let's go MA QnA April. See, here's a lovely shiny new file, and we'll also have to load a new show file on this desk. New show file. Yeah, why not? Yeah, we'll override it. So let me just quickly reference some fixtures. Let's go Sharpie. Nice and easy. Sharpie vector 20 channel. So I'm not gonna do truss for now, because all we're doing is we're dealing with sort of cloning. Yes, I have. Well, I don't know. Unfortunately, it's not a full console. It's a light. Well, I say that, but I really love my light. It's the same as the MA2 light. I reckon the MA2 light is the perfect size. The full size, as much as I love the full size is just too big for me. I find myself reaching and struggling. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 8 Sharpies and we're going to clone them to 8 pointies. When we're going to do it in 2 different ways. Let's go 24 channel mode. And let's put them on Universe 2 just for ease of use. When to pixel map, I'm running 4 standards of Dreamfest, festoning in extended mode. It's set up over a walkway for eye counting. Is it worth pixel mapping or just throwing random effects over it? Kelly S, I would suggest looking at a program called Jinx LED. So it's like it's very similar to Madrix if you've ever dealt with Madrix, but number one, it's free, and other than the fact that it's free, it'll do what you want to do quite capably. 3, and just resetting up my screens here. 2. There we go. I'd look at Jinx. So Jinx is the easiest way of pixel mapping. If you want to do cool stuff or just solid colors, Jinx deals with it really well and will be able to do your amount of fixtures really easily. Or look at Madrix. Anyway, we'll jump in. We'll patch our Sharpies. And I'm sorry if I miss your question. I promise I will keep looking over and not missing it. So if you say something and I miss it and it relates to what we're doing right now, let me know. Otherwise, when we're coming to the end of a section, feel free to ask it then. What did I say? I put them in mode 1, didn't I? And we did 8 of them, 2.1. Let's activate SACN. And let's bring up a group pool. And we'll auto-generate some groups just so that it's easy. I could bring in my own user profile, but I won't. We'll just quickly build sort of a rough layout here. Of what, the way that I normally lay out my desk. As I said, I could bring in a user profile, but that's no fun for anyone. Position, gobo, color, beam. And then for me, what I normally do is if I'm getting a show up running, I go additional presets, swatch book, select all the fixtures, MA color. And I did that really quickly. So I'll try to slow down. So building presets for me, stuff like gobos, color, gobos, for gobos and beam, I prefer to do that myself rather than let it fill with 100 or so whatever presets. For color, I normally just go additional presets off the audio create menu and then go select them all and then realize that what I've got here is a bunch of fixtures that are color wheel based. So after shit counting the fact that I don't normally do that, we're going to bring in the Sharpies presets because we're going to want to clone over the top of them. So if I go all Sharpies, turn them on, pan them in, and then go MA tricks because I want to grab every second one. Should bring that up there so you can always see what I'm doing. Daniel Kent says, have you ever encountered a bug in MA 3.1 where the move, delete and copy to the coastline doesn't look... I haven't really played in MA 3, the new version, despite running 3.8 here. I haven't really played in MA 3 mode that much just yet. I'm noticing my microphone's wobbling a lot and I feel like I should tighten that while we're talking. It's probably making a noise every time it does that. Sorry everyone. Alright, so let's just make this look a little bit more elegant, he says, and then totally cocks it up. We're not going for like precision here, we're going for just something to clone. So we'll put this in, we'll quickly delete these pointless positions. We'll put this in as a position and we'll use red and blue. And store this all as a Q. And call that position because I created the preset and then didn't update it. And then we'll label it. So we'll call it show. It's the world's silliest show, but anyway. Well, the next Q will then tilt them up. Blue room, red people. Exactly. Sorry, I was looking at a comment that was being held by the spammer. Why is there a little bit of white in the beam? Wow, the quality's a lot better than I expected. I would suggest because the Sharpies, the profile that I've used is not the greatest. There we go. We'll update blue select and problem is gone. Cool, so now we've got two Qs, fairly simple, and we'll store this as a view. So coming back to a question that was asked probably a while ago now, how do I clone? And I'm gonna steal a concept that a colleague of mine once gave me in a show file, with a slight modification. So he set his show up kind of like this, and he called it clone. And basically, when he clones from the left to the right hand side. And that's the easiest thing. So you put in all of your like festival rig here, and on your other screen you'd have all of your home rig. Quite simple. And then the process of cloning is quite simple. We go, normally I wouldn't prepare cloning on the same screen, you'd use 2 and 3, but we're not doing that here. We go from source to here, prepare. We don't want to do the groups. We want to do all the presets, we want to do all of those, and we go clone and merge, and now we can see we've cloned everything to those fixtures, and it's even cloned the presets for us. So then all is left for us to do is fix up the way that it has brought those in. So if we grab our pointies and we go tools, we might even be able to, no, we're not going to be able to flip them. We just need to fix up that one position, which is essentially there, kind of like there. Then we'd update that position preset we created. And I think this is using, yeah, I used a hard value, so I can't really get around that. And now we've cloned. So what I could have also done, store Q1 through. So what I've done is I've just removed those lights from our programming. The other thing we could have done is we could have just done a fixture morph. So if we went into patch and fixture schedule, I could easily have just gone Sharpie vector, change these to pointies. It's going to ask what we want to do. Obviously, if we're going with fixtures that have got CMY, it's going to ask us how do we want to transform this color. Do we want to try to use mix color plus color wheel, or color wheel, or just mix color? We want to use mix color, but it's not going to work. So we're going to say color wheel. It's going to point out that it takes up more channels than it did before, which is fine because we're going to make our pointies disappear. and then we're going to patch them as 2.1. And obviously they're going to point in the wrong direction, but we're going to have our new fixtures working and referencing presets. So again, if I update that position, and we go next. I did that really fast, but was that helpful at all? Basically, we went from left to right and cloned. Hello, Matt Doherty. How do I add a tag to something? So how do you clone if the new fixture has an extra attribute? What do you mean? So are you saying what happens if we weren't cloning from pointies to sharpies? We were cloning from sharpies to something with a color wheel? Or are you talking about other parameters other than that? I prefer the face cam, really. No, I'm not very centered in it. I need a little bit more information, Steve, and I'll be happy to answer your question. Let's see what other questions have been asked. When I pixel map, yeah, no, so I've done that one. How do you find and make better fixture profiles than aren't the defaults? Need a bit more information on that one. Like you have a reference RGB fixture and you change to one that is RGB WAU. Could be interesting. Let's try it. So we'll have to find some fixtures that suit the bill, but we should be able to do that. I mean, we can find an RGB park and I can probably generate one. Here's an RGB Parkan. I know we just need a very complex version of it. I know exactly where to look. EDC, luster. I know a luster doesn't go this wide, but we're you know, we're swapping our apples for oranges here. So we're going to build a show using the RGB Parkan quickly. And then we're going to transfer it to the luster. I don't know what it is. It's a RGB, you know, WTF BBQ. But we'll find it using the list. So there's a luster, and it's 10 channels. Luster, you know that it's 10 channels, so we're looking for something that's 10 channels. If I have to build something, I'm going to be... Here we go, D60 luster. So 9... we need to know what these colours are. So it goes red, yes. White, yes. Amber, yes. So interesting, it's dummying 9, so I don't think that's the fixture we want. It's not a D60. What are we using? We're using a luster plus. Ah, here we go. Interesting. This one still dummies the strobe. So again, we go auto create. We'll create groups. Then we'll go additional presets and we'll only select from the RGB parquet. We'll go merge color. Where it has put that group, I do not know, but that is alright. We will go through that process again. Group, create all, created 2 groups. Yeah, there we are. Cool, so let's just check that the fixtures work. Let me go through the comments for a sec here. I think the one that I had all the profiles in it. It said it was 10 channels. Let's bring it up and see whether it works. Maybe I've got something wrong. No, it says it. Maybe the profile is a bit different. Did I start it on... Whoa, hang on. How did it get to that number? My MA informs me that it should start on... Ah, yeah, that's right, because it's a stupid par that's got macros and stuff. Sorry, just go 1.7, sorry. So the generic RGB par, for those playing at home, kind of screwed me because it's actually 6 channels. So let's just check that this all works. So if I bring up my RGB par, hang on. We might be about to modify a parcan. We're about to modify a parcan. Clear. If this was a tutorial, I would be showing people how I'm doing this, but for now I just want an RGB par. I'm hoping this will work. Show me red. Yep, cool. So we've got an RGB par. Now before we continue on, let's just check that my luster works. Light a bit more hazy, you know. So I've got to check that all the emitters work. Why don't we bring these up on this screen? So I'll pull all the colours out. So red works, green works, blue works. And this is just the colour picker, by the way, that we've got up here. I've just dragged it onto one of the top screens. Amber works, white, indigo, and cyan. I've turned down the house lights. The luster isn't that weak. Let's put it in full screen so you can see it a bit better as well. So we want to create just a quick show with our LED park cam, right? So we want it to go red, and I'm going to build the suspense by going through the primary colors. Blue, UV, which is where it might get a bit interesting. White, which will test whether it runs with the white emitter. Pink. It was weird that I kind of did a color change there when we went to pink. Alright, so let's just check we've got a Q stack here, which we do. I'm not going to name the Qs, but we've got a bunch of Qs here. So in theory, if we go cloning and we resize my view and we go from RGB to this, prepare, no groups, clone, merge, we'll see what it does. So the red is going to work, green works, blue works. So yeah, it looks like it's not going to take on. Oh no, it's done the white at least. So if I bring up our special dialog and I click through all our colors, we can see that it's smart enough to use the white and the cyan. So maybe if I'd chosen the amber, it would have worked. Because it looks like, without even updating anything, Steve, it looks like it's taken the new parameters. So we're looking at the luster. So it's used the cyan, but if I dump this Q, and this is the benefit of cloning for a sec, and we grab the LED and we go yellow, cyan, we know that cyan works, violet, magenta, sea green, orange, and maybe if I try to mix in sort of, you know, like a pure amber or something. We'll see how we go with that, and then we'll see what it does. Someone could have told me that I wasn't recording anyway. That's alright. Cyan, store, violet, store, magenta, store. Try mixing Congo blue on the LED par and then clone it. Well, I don't have a Congo blue, do I? I don't think it's going to do it. It's going to... I could be smart and use the swatch book here. We'll put it on a different Q stack. So we'll call this Congo, and we'll also give it intensity so we can run it separately. So I've got Congo, and then we've got a bunch of just mixed things. So we'll do our clone again, cloning from our LED par to our luster. Prepare, no groups, merge, whoops, hopefully I've just merged, we'll see what happens, and we'll see what we get. So again, we'll bring up our lovely color picker, the raw faders, and we'll click through. So I mean, it's using the amber, it's smart enough to use the amber, but we'll see what it does with the Congo. So yeah, the Congo, it's pushed in the indigo, so I mean, you're always going to have to tweak colors when going between different fixture types, but it's not like, it's not, well, we can see that the indigo has already moved, Matt. Should definitely hit strobe after this. Yeah, but the strobe in this MA profile looks like it's dummied out. Like if we look at it, it's got dummy. So I guess coming back to the question of how do you find good fixture files, that's a really simple one. Look at fixtureshare.ma, where I get, you know, all the good fixture files. Otherwise, you know, most of the time you can build one. So if someone wants to send me a link, yeah, sorry Matt, the chat's a bit delayed and I look head down and don't look up. So if someone wants to send me a fixture they want me to build, I'm more than happy to build it live on stream. The gobo is going to be a bit, yeah, but you know, we can do stuff if we want. I'm wheeling through this list looking for shutter because I want to know whether this profile supports shutter. Yeah, there we go. Strobe. The Luster has a version with strobes. I'm not building a Cosmo Pix. Shadow strobe is just regular strobe. Yeah, look, well, look, you know, according to this this lovely L8 profile, it works. I don't even have a rainbow chase I can run over this. But there we go. Darude Sandstorm. Alright, what? Number one, I think the Cosmo Pix is already in the fixture library there, champ, but let's have a look. Let's humour you. Isn't that really hideous? Oh, well, it's only 64. But instead, I tell you what. I tell you what, let's look at the way that that's built. So we've got two modules with a dim 2 module, which makes everyone sad. So it's got a module that does sort of pan and tilt, and then it's got just an RGB cluster, an RGBW cluster. So, you know, at the beginning, at the top of the stream, we looked at how to build a fixture file, and we used an RGB Parcan. This is a really good example of a moving head. So we've got one module which controls all the movement bits, so pan, tilt, a couple of effects, and then we've got an RGBW cluster. And the fixture is built of one main module and then 12 RGBW clusters. Take the alpha spot and Jade 1. If you have a queue with a preset with just the alpha, and then you can update the picture that you have a mode, it'll clone just the shutter. Take the alpha spot and the Jade. Isn't the Jade a DTS fixture? If it's a DTS fixture, I reckon it'll just be a bad fixture file. Like a bad fixture library for it. Pretty sure I'm right. I'm not building a Cosmo Pix. Who makes the... is it Jade? JDE. Oh, ProLight's Jade. Oh, well, it's going to be a bad fixture file. For sure. Like, the ProLight stuff is good. It just needs a fixture file off, like, Fixture Share or something. And you just sit there and work out what the issues are. Do you remember what mode it was in? R1 FXB. No! No! We're not spending 20 minutes building a fixture file. I meant something like, not a Chinese moving light, but, you know, something... Give me a softball here, guys. Don't give me something that's hard. Please fix the GT1 file. What's wrong with the GT1? I've used the GT1s. I used the GT1s recently. I can't remember what was wrong with the GT1. I had to fix the zoom on it or something. We can have a look. I think with the GT1, if I look at this USB, no, I don't have the GT1 on this, so... Oh yeah, the zoom is backwards. Yeah, well that's easy to fix. It's let's look at it. GT1 in normal mode. $3.1. You know what I love about streaming? You don't make any money off it. The recorded videos, a little bit. Enough to pay for the beer I'm drinking. Streams, not so much, because the problem is streams don't get much viewership afterwards. It's only, you know, you've got to capture people as they're watching it. Otherwise you won't really have them. So GT1. Logically, that would be Fixture 3, hooray! Fixture, please. 3, please. Add art, please. Okay. Oh, look at that bloom. Ridiculous. Way better. There we go. Alright, so. It pans and tilts. I really like the GT1, by the way. I also had... what was it on the NTech Roadshow recently, which was a trade show that went through Australia. The Highlander, which was really cool. No, look, it says that it's correct. So if I go narrow, it goes narrow. If I go wide, it goes wide. So I think you're crazy. Or you got to remember, I'm running 3.8, so maybe it's been fixed already, and we can probably check that if I look at the file. No, it's still got the original comments on it. Yeah, I don't know, unless it's backwards in the real world. It's backwards in real life. How do you find L8 Viz? I really like L8 Viz, although the disclaimer is I am the Asia Pacific dealer for it. I've looked at Capture. Capture does things really well. But I really like L8. L8 has a really good fixture library. It's got mirrors. It supports NDI. So does Capture. But just the render quality and the inbuilt video like rendering options are a lot better. And plus it starts at like, well, 88 euros or 10% off that price if you use my promo code. So if you are interested, shoot me a private message. We can either arrange a demo or at least a quote for a little bit of a discount. I know it is, you know, forced upskilling time, but it's a great time to learn things if you've got the opportunity to learn. Okay, so you're saying that the fixture is backwards. So if I just go to focus and go into focus, edit. So I just reverse those. I just change min focus and max focus. Well, Brandon, if you've just joined the stream, don't go off what we've been doing with our couple of moving lights. Go off the other file that I was running, which was... Let's load up Trace. Like, I did a stream 2 weeks ago. And we showed off, you know, what L8 can really do. Where I built this, complete with front of house setup. It says zone texture 1 because I don't have the virtual camera enabled right now. So what are we? We're looking at Trace. So Trace. Where's the select key? Shows I've minimized console in a couple of those. Select. Here we go. Lovely. All right. So we can do moving objects in L8. Trace and above though. But the 88 euro version, and I keep quoting in euros because the euro and AUD USD fluctuate so much, gets you 64 fixtures, Gets you 64 fixtures, 2 universes. You can do video exports, 3ds, FBX import export, onboard DMX, record, animated 3D textures, symbols and mirrors. So mirrors is a good example. We can see here that there's a mirror below one of our artists. And you can also do as much of this kind of like lead tape stuff as you want. Oh, did you say focus is backwards? Sorry, well, focus would be exactly the same. What is your best fixture for LA? I like them all. JDC1, I guess. Sorry, Matt. I was bouncing between a bunch of different things. So you said that the GT1 focuses backwards. Fair enough. There you go, we can even do virtual cameras. Amazing. I opened the focus, not zoom. Well, mate. Oh, did I? Okay, well, fair enough. I believe you implicitly. It sounds like something I'd do. Whoa, next beer is on us. Thank you for sharing the knowledge. Thanks you very much for the €5. €5 technically buys you a drink. Well, me drinking something. But it also buys you, I guess, me not really flogging your product, but talking about your product. So, if you're not aware, RD/Show Cockpit, run by Ricardo, is a really cool program that allows you to use basically any MIDI controller on the market to control MA2.2, MA3, Camsys, like any of those consoles out there in a really nice, pretty much touch and turn way. Where you fire up the software, and I wish I had it on this computer because I'd show you. Fire up the software and you put it in like listen mode and you turn a knob and it goes, what do you want to do with this? And you go, well, this is an infinite, you know, rotary knob. So you can use it to control your pan, tilt, zoom, whatever in MA2, let's say. Or, you know, you push up a fader and it goes, what's this? Well, this is a fader. So you assign it to an MA2 fader. And you can basically build your own MA out of, you know, bits and pieces. And when I owned a Command Wing, I did that for a while and it was good, but when you've got a real desk, nothing compares to dumping down the case, taking the lid off, plugging a Cat5 cable in, plugging a power cable in, and having a console with full muscle memory. With the MIDI controllers, especially touring, they're great. I toured not long ago with basically a little MIDI box that I'd plug in so it was headless, that did foot pedals and all sorts of things. Not a huge fan of Camsys. Really had to start from scratch again, but it's worth it, I guess. Yeah, but look, Camsys is really lovely. Like the MQ70 is an amazingly well-priced package for what it is. But it's not my precious MA, you know. It's not the MA3. That's for sure. I ran Camsys in a recent stream actually, just doing basics. I just love the strobes in LA. That's what makes me happy. Really want to get rid of that Zone 1 texture thing. Making a test pattern. Legit question, how do you patch Haze in L8? So I'm just checking what version I'm in because we created a bunch of files. So you don't actually patch Haze, well you kind of do. So you patch the camera, and basically you can do a DMX controlled camera. So I'll hop into it right now, and you get, you know, full control. So that's dimmer is sort of house lights. We can do full like pan and tilt kind of stuff, so we don't have to touch the visualizer. And then if we come across to control, we can do sort of smoke and wind. So if I go into a state that's got lights, we can see that I can slowly add in smoke or slowly remove it. And if I override it here by just moving my 3D mouse, we can actually also do fog. So you can do like 3D fog. So it's not a really good example here, but if I turn it off, you'll be able to see it. So I've DMX controlled essentially a 3D texture, so I can bring in sort of a low fog if I want. But it comes in as a box, so it's, you know, it's not the same as being able to have it like rolling in. So only media and up. Yes. I've got to check that. I believe so, yes. DMX camera patch is media and above. Yes. How am I finding the MA3, mate? I love the MA3. It's so good to have my own console. It makes pre-production when there were gigs so much nicer. I've got GT1s in this show as well, actually. I think they're blue and they're floor lights. Yeah, there you go, the floor lights in this show. That's an interesting byproduct. Oh, it's because it's the 3D haze is on. Yeah, the virtual haze is really nice, and the fact that we've got total like wind control over it is also really good. And the system we're running on isn't amazing. It's a GTX 1080, which is a couple of years old, so you can pick them up quite cheap. And we're also not running like the full resolution. I'm running on sort of half because we're streaming as well. But I can, you know, we can stop the wind and just have like really nice, beautiful haze. One other thing that I really like in L8, not that this is an L8 stream, is you can do soft gobos. So if I dump the color out of this for a sec, I know there are way better ways of doing what I'm doing, but that's alright. And we dim it down a bit. Actually, let's just drop it into solo for the moment. So you can do gobos, but in MA3D, they're always hard focused. In L8, we can focus them how we want. So especially if you're doing theatre, number one, it's good practice to actually be focusing your gobos. The amount of people that I see that do MA3D shows and then forget that you have to focus things is unfortunately quite high. But yeah, you can really get the effects you want. And as well, you know, if it's got gobo rotation, we can also do gobo rotation. Interesting. Do you always invert the pans on the other side of the stage? Let's have a look. It depends. Normally I would have the fixtures... Look at me, sounding like I don't touch lights. Normally I would either set the fixtures out so they were facing the same way and update positions, but I think in this case what we did was I had created it so that they would just work. So yeah, I've just done an invert. Invert is, you know, nice if you're doing stuff like sidelight, where all you want to do is sort of, you know, fang them down, zoom them in on our talent, and not really have to worry too much. Yeah, it's a trap in my 3D and that focus. Really tempted to get myself L8, but I would try a demo first. Unfortunately, there is no free demo. We can arrange a virtual dongle for you to test either essentially the equivalent of CE or, you know, you can always drop by the office. So while it is lockdown time, you can still come and upskill. We've got a full previs studio at the office in Williamstown. If you're in Melbourne, feel free to contact me. We can make a booking. L8 stuff is free. If you want to learn MA, I will charge you. Not much. And we can probably even delay payments. But if you want to come and have a look at L8, we can definitely arrange a session even this week. I'm currently not sitting in the studio, in case you wondered. This is at home because I've been working from home for a little while, just upskilling. But the desk and everything will come to the office this week, so we've got a full previs studio set up there. If you haven't been following Project E, which is the studio that I'm part of, feel free to follow projecte.studio. That is our website. We're also on Instagram. Yeah, cool. Also buy yourself a 3D mouse. 3D mice are lovely. So you might be able to see this thing that I'm twiddling with. I'll put it so you can actually see it. And if you look at L8, this works really well in L8. It works amazingly in Vectorworks. It's so much nicer to be able to position with one hand and just work with your mouse in the other. Once you have a 3D mouse, you will wonder how you did without a 3D mouse. How do you set the software to react to the 3D mouse? So the mouse that I'm using is the 3D connection one, and it's pretty much plug and play. So in Vectorworks, the moment you install the drivers, it just works, and the same with L8. The moment you plug it in, it just works. There is a configuration tool where you can choose to disable certain things. So I've got rotation and roll disabled, but basically you plug it in and off you go. It's simple, and yeah, called 3D connection. But if you just look up 3D mouse, my only recommendation is you don't get the wireless one. I've seen a couple of people have got them. They seem like a good idea, but I just prefer wired, because wired always works, and especially with something where you need like total precision. And yeah, it'll take a little while to learn how to drive the thing, but you know, there's nothing like it. Seems basic. Can you show how you can put a prism or a gobo on a fader? Yeah, I imagine that question's a little more loaded than it sounds, but we can definitely do that. So if I grab, let's say, Mistrals. So I've got some Mistrals across the front of the stage here. Oh, one other thing before I continue that L8 does that MA3D doesn't. Is shutters. So you can softly focus and you can do whatever you want, but you can use shutters and shapers. So here we can, you know, we get sort of a live view of how the blades interact. And everything. So we can also rotate them if we want. Really cool. Yes, so let's put Let me just fork this show file again so I don't break the showcase one. MA, QnA. I'm going to save over that file again, aren't I? Yep, that's alright. So you want to save just a prism. So you could go Gobo 1, there, store, executor, that's it. Can you explain about the MA render setup, like smoke, resolution at full, half draft, depth quality? Yeah, sure. And Sebastian, please come back to me with a bit more information about what you want. Or do you mean rotation? How do you put rotation on a fader? Rotation's actually a really good one. I will answer the L8 question as well next. But rotation's a really interesting one. So with rotation, the way that I normally do it is I normally do it as a crossfade. So if I store this sort of stopped value as Q1 and then this fast one as Q2, and then we jump into sequence options and we change it from a master to a crossfade A, I think, because we only want it to go in one direction. When I push this up, it's backwards. So it's crossfade B that I want. Maybe I can do it as a temp. You do it as a temp, but I think you'd want, I think it's a crossfade that you want, but you only want it to go in one direction. I think it's a crossfade A. Hang on. So you could do it in two ways. You could do it as a temp, or you could do rotation speed, which I've done all the things on the screen, but you don't kind of see my faders. So let me just bring up some masters here. Not masters, but on-screen playback. Playback. And I'll call it speed. So I stored two values. I stored slow and then we stored fast. And we can just go in between those sort of values like so. But normally what I do is I just create a bump button that goes between the rotation speeds. Yeah, possibly your starting one, yeah. So that would be the issue. So I've created a queue where it's not rotation stop. So let me redo that. See, I try to do things quickly and I screw them up a little. So we'll grab our Mistrals and we'll find stop, store there as Q1, and then there we go, that'll work better. You are correct. So now we'll check that, turn it off for a sec. Let's just check that actually. Yeah, interesting. There we go. So if you turned off auto stop, you'll get what you want now. So what I've done there is we've gone crossfade A, and then I've just turned auto stop off. So it's always crossfading to Q2 rather than going back. But there you go, that, you know, that works no matter what. It's still always just going to crossfade to there. And yeah, so Daniel's suggestion is also a really good one. He just uses a default, so he'll default it to 75 where I've got it, and then rather than doing a crossfade, you can just literally do a temp between those two values. So rather than it defaulting to 0, it defaults at stop. Hello, can you please show me a quick way of assigning subs in groups and channels? You mean Submasters? Yeah, we can do that. So if I was to grab, let's delete our rotation for a sec. So if I was to grab this, you wanted to have a submaster. So if we just go assign on an empty fader, function, special master. I don't use playback masters very often, because I would have known, otherwise it's 5.1. So if we assign it to playback 5.1, and then we go into sequence, options, and it shows how often I do this. Rate, individual speed, normal, playback. No, not playback filter. Playback master, there we go. See, I got it before the stream did. So now we've assigned it to a playback master. So now we've got the intensity of that on a playback master. If you're talking about group masters, the fastest way to do a group master is you create your group. You know, let's say it's, well, let's use what we've got here. So we've used, let me just bring that up and delete it so I can remove it. So let's say we've got our Mistrals. If you click in assign, grab your group, put it there. So just assign, tap on the group, you've now got a group master that you can use there. And you've also got all the options, so we can make it, you know, negative or additive. So if you needed to, you know, punch a little higher, or you wanted to only be able to reduce it, it's up to you. I normally prefer positive. It's really good for stuff like TV, or anywhere where you've got like blinders or something. There's this great macro by Jason Giaffalo that essentially is a temp page creator, where when you hold one of your buttons in, you know, let's say it's like 101, it flips to a different fader page. So I put all my group masters there, and then during the day, if you know I'm going through the stuff and I'm like, oh, I'd like a bit more punch out of my strobe blinders, I can hold down that button and it'll flip the fader page. I make the adjustment, and when I release the button, it goes back to my normal fader page, which is really cool. But I love group masters. Group masters are amazing, and group masters are always good because you've always got a select fix at the top, which means you can immediately call your fixtures into your programmer. Group masters are awesome, except when you do that, when you black them out and then delete them and you forget you've done it, because you're like, why don't I have output from these fixtures? Do we want to do a bump button one? This is a bit of a weird one. So I say weird one like it's a bad thing, but some people like having like bump buttons, and when they hit it, it goes to a certain color. It's really simple to do. You use sort of an all preset, and then you essentially swap out presets. I confused myself when I said that. So it's macro based, but let's say we've got not a color wheel fixture, Alex. Do it with something that's got, let's go Levantes. So let's say you've got these lovely lights. You won't touch pan and tilt, and we've got them in blue, and this is your show, and then you want to be able to bump over the top. So if we grab the Levantes again and we go red, and you click a button here, and then we go assign, Helps if I actually click assign, not update. Assign, and we make that a flash or a temp. And we claw at the camera. When we hit this, it's going to bump to red. Now that's great, and if you wanted like a white one and all that, good for you. You could have a bunch of buttons, but if you want to be able to have, you know, your own little setup of just one button, but you can pick off like a color picker, you can do that as well. And the trick is an all preset. And here you can see I've already got one for a camera. So we'll screw that one off for a sec. We will need color as well. And we will need our Levantes. And let's say we'll put them in white. And we'll copy just this white preset down to 45. Normally you copy it a lot lower than that. But basically you put it in white. And you make sure you're using this preset. And then you store an all preset. And in that all preset is technically that other preset that we've got. So now if we store that over the top of our flash button and we clear out, now we can flash white. But now, if we wrote a macro, copy preset 4.2 at preset 4.45, so it's a color preset, and we want to overwrite, and we call this one red. I'm a fool. I don't know why I did it as an all preset. All it had to be was just this preset. So now we're bumping that. And then if we create one that copies white over the top, so we'll call it white. And this time we'll copy 4.1, whoops. We can be bumping, and then we can run this macro, and now we're bumping white. Red, white. And all it's doing is copying presets around. Same as a high-low effect generator. And I did that really quickly again. How many parameters can you use with an MA2 command wing on L8 Media? So you are still restricted to your parameter count. So you are restricted to 2048 parameters. Hopefully that changes in the future. There's a huge poll currently on Facebook, championed by Tim Rutledge, who says, you know, we want more control over. We want more, you know, more control, and we want to be able to previs more than our parameter count. So they're working on that apparently. I work in a theatre and need to do a lot of work on an ETC console. When recording cues with Group Masters, the intensity is not working. But that means that if I set the intensity of the Group Master, rate intensity is not recorded into the cue. So Group Master, the easiest way of thinking of a Group Master is that it's an inhibit. So you would still store your intensity into your cue list, and then with your Group Master what you would do is you'd either limit it or increase it. Most of the time you'll be looking to sort of just limit it. The only time you'd be looking at sort of making it an additive thing is if you're doing, let's say, TV, and you've got like a director of photography or something and he wants to be able to push a bit more of a certain light in. Most of the time they'll just want to limit though. For what was the all preset? The all preset was a hangover. Ignore the all preset. I was setting it up to use something else, but we don't need it. All we need to do is just do color. The all preset would be used for sort of other things. If we were using more than one preset type, we'd be copying over the top of those all presets. So what we're doing, so those macros, I apologize for going really quickly, so I won't start again, but I'll show you what we've done. So we used some lights, we used its own preset, and we just stored that to a bump button, and then we assigned temp. And then what we did was we created macros to essentially copy over the top of that preset. So this one's red, so it's copying preset 4.2, which is red, over the top of 45. And when we run that, now when we reference this, obviously because it's linked, we get it now with red. So can you use that to add some position? You could, if you wanted to, I guess. If you used an all preset, you definitely could. So if we, yeah, you can. So let me go through what I was just doing then. I kind of had to make it work in my head. So what do I need to do? I need to move the white preset up. I can actually get rid of their matrix. That would make more sense. So if we brought in our position presets, we don't really have that amount of amazing position presets for this thing, but you know, let's create another position preset here. Let's call this spread. So in my head, I don't see a value in doing this, but if you wanted to add in positions, you could grab both of these presets, hold down the store key, and I'll bring this up to this screen. We want to allow embedded presets, store it to an all preset, and then we want to store the all preset. So we'll grab our Levante's all preset to this button, we'll override it, and we'll just copy the red to make sure it still works. And then because the embedded preset, oh, I was stupid. I wonder what preset I referenced. Well, it didn't actually tell me. I forgot one key step, which was to actually reference a position preset. What do I mean I need to do more DJs? I just don't build like color bumps and stuff like this very often. My brain has slightly gone south. So let's start that entire process again. Grab our fixtures. Put them in a position. Store that position here. Can't name it because the moment we name it, we override it. So we make sure that we're referencing both of those. Store. We enable embedded presets. We check that that preset works. And we store over the top of our flash button. And then we switch out the color. And then if we switch out the position, so I'm going to have to create a position because I deleted it. But let's go Levante's out like this. And then we created 2 macros to do the position. we want to copy preset 2.2 at caps lock at preset 2. And I can sort of see what you'd use this for. 2.13 /O, which means /overwrite, so it's not going to give us a confirmation when it overwrites it. And then we'll, just because I'm lazy, we'll edit this other one, and we now want to copy preset 2.3. So we're bumping, it goes in, and then if we run this, because we've copied that preset, now it works between those. So we can actually kind of see it live happening as I run these macros. Question from Nicholas. When making a new show, do you use a personal start show or a blank show file? Depends on the show. Most of the stuff I do is corporate one-offs. So I bring in a user profile, which you can kind of see on the screen already. The way that I lay out my desk is kind of the way you're looking at it right now. So I do presets on the left, groups on the right, but all my views are exactly the same. So across the bottom of each view, be it on a full size, a light, a compact, anything, my views are always the same. So if I jump on a full size, I can go, all right, well, I want my presets here, my effects here, and my groups here, and so on. And then if I update one of these views, it updates them all. So it keeps it nice and secure. Not secure, but nice and consistent for me. And then the ones up the right are just sort of a hangover from an old way that I'd program. Where I had, you know, full-size faders, if I needed to do RDM stuff or, you know, other effects. But most of the time I'm referencing the ones at the bottom here. I don't think it's possible, but it would be nice if you could add like 3 stops to a position without having to store a new preset. Well, technically you could just have a macro that runs and keep swapping presets out on you. Like every time you bumped, it ran your macro and changed position. It'd be like a totally random thing. But if you created like a super macro, copy preset 4.1 at preset 4.13. I can't remember what our color one was. Oh, did I delete it? No, I didn't delete it. That's crazy. I know. 4.45. And then copy preset 4.2 at 4.13 /override. I mean, it's not going to be very random, is it? It's going to run like a, essentially a cue list. Every time you bump it, it's going to... And then if we edited this, we put in a command, go macro 7, If I got my numbering right, that would have worked. But every time you bump it, it's cycling through those lines. Oh, you meant on the encoder. Okay. Because I've just created a bump that every time you do it, it changes your colors and randomizes it. How can I store the looks of my screen as a default? When a new show is starting, I need them to be there and not have to arrange them again. So once you've got your desk the way you like it, if you go into Setup, or if you're on MA3 menu, User Profiles and Setup, what you can do is, it'll be probably called default because it will have been what you've built it in. So you want to export this profile to somewhere. But let's do it slightly nicer than this. So hypothetically, say you've got the desk the way you like it. You go add profile and you call it my super user, and you want to copy profile default there. So you've essentially copied the default one, and then you call it my super profile, and then you can export that out to a USB. Then when you load it into a desk, you go import profile from your USB, you grab you create a user. So I've created Alex, I've assigned the user profile me, and then you click login and you get your views back. Does that answer your question, F? I madly glossed over that in detail. So if you want more information, please let me know. I really can't wait till I move all this to the new office. It's so warm in here. I've got like a film light. It's a bit ridiculous. And now we've just created like a 3D hellhole of crazy. Can you show me the program? Oh, hello Dan. Yeah, of course I can show you the program of delay times, buddy. But I was going to try to extort money out of you and do it as like a lesson. But we can definitely do that for you, mate. So let me turn my stupid macro off and delete that. So in a recent video that I did, I had, well, I can actually show you. I think it was CE. So we had Sharpies running, and then when we transition across at one point, we see that it does this sort of this snap in style thing, or it goes from the outside in with color. So we notice we go red and then it snaps in. If we want to replicate that, we grab, let's not do it with the Sharpies this time, let's do it with the Levantes, and we'll tilt them out and we'll put them in a color of red. I don't know why I keep gravitating towards red, but we've got a look. So we've got a look, and in the next queue we want them to go blue. So we do this, we put them in the color we want, then we come down to delay. So down in a spot that you can't see because we don't have the encoder bar. Let me scheme and work out how I'm going to do this. I know exactly how I'm going to do this. Hang on. If I get rid of views and stuff, I think I can bring up a virtual encoder bar here. Encoder bar. Okay, so I think everything I do should now appear. So if I've got my values here, so if we go with Levantes again, we can see that currently we're in value. If we go into delay, we can see it says 0 seconds. So if I now type Let's go 0 through 5 through 0. So this is a time-based thing, and we store Q, and we create Q. When I run this, 5 seconds was not the best example of this, but that's how we do it. And then if we want to modify this while we're in the queue, if we go back into delay and we decide that, actually, you know what, Alex is goddamn crazy. I had this issue before where it just won't let me pull up delay times. That's so weird right now. You should be able to change those times. Hang on, maybe I've got a filter active. No. Up, there we go. So, see, we can see that it's 0 through 3.5. So if we go 0 through 1 through 0, then we update this queue, we'll get that. So we can also do it with a fade time, but essentially that's it. In the same way that you can sort of array fixtures, so if you decided that you wanted a nice splay, rather than, you know, working out, well, that's minus 70 and I need to go to 70, if you just go minus 70 through 70 with a bunch of fixtures selected, it's going to array all of those throughout that value range. Ian Scott, not really important, but with L8, when is L8 going to update the GUI? It seems a bit dated. It's a tough one. Personally, I've been working with L8 as a, you know, firstly as a customer, then as a support person for quite a while. Well, I remember back when we were running MA 2.9, and that was my first L8 experience. I don't know when they're going to change it, but I kind of like it. I've kind of got used to it, but you know, you can always feedback some feedback to them if you're not happy with the way that it runs. I agree it is a bit dated, but you know, Depends isn't any better, or godforsaken, you know, Vision. I would prefer them to work on the rendering engine. I'd be happy to work with, you know, the not limiting GUI, but the, as you've called it, slightly dated GUI, and just have an amazing visualizer. You know, clients can say whatever you want about the way that your visualizer looks, but they're not going to see any of the interface. And it shouldn't matter if I don't have a value. I should still be able to click on it. I didn't swear on camera. Did I say, oh, I said Vision? Yes. Vision is not a great product. Depends shows promise, I'll give it that. And a lot of people are jumping on it, but I don't think it's there yet, and I reckon we will definitely see some really cool stuff coming out of L8. I can almost guarantee that. So they're bringing in some paperwork functionality soon, and all sorts of lovely cool things are coming. I promise you, L8 has got some promising times ahead. Depends is very expensive, yes. But does Depends have mirrors? Look at that. Look at that. How unbelievable is that? Now, before I move on, I should go through the... We're not doing an L8 stream, I keep saying that, but then here I am. So, this little window that comes up, even when you're in full screen mode, gives us a couple of options. All of this is DMX controllable in media and above, but we've got ambient light, we've got full gamma control, we can change the amount of smoke and haze, and wind even. We can tweak the exposure. We can change the field of view, so if we want to make it, you know, quite crazy looking, we can set the field of view to like 140 degrees, or we can totally flatten it out if we want to be a mental case. We can also change the color of the house lights. So if we wanted to have a room that looked red, we could do that. We can also do preset views, and then we've got roll. We've got sort of our camera positioning tool if we want to use that, as well as an iris on board that's totally separate of the lights. And then you can do sort of just resolution and quality settings. So it's probably quite hard to see what we're doing when we change the resolution, but while the beams look good, where you'll notice a lack of quality is sort of in the heads of the lights. So you see, if we look at up close, we can see that it's just not as well as a formed beam from a distance. But if you're doing a lot of lights, it doesn't matter. Then depth quality is a bit of an interesting thing, thinking of it as sort of beam quality. So we can see as we change through them, the beams become more thicker. And then automation is just to do when we're doing sort of automation based stuff. So if we raise our pods, if we set it to draft, it stutters a bit, because obviously being a visualizer, every time we move an object that has a light on it, every single frame it needs to recalculate what's this like going to look like, what's it going to do when it moves. So it's a bit more work, but you know, if you need to drop the settings down, you need to drop the settings down. But it's kind of not like when we do it in MA 3D where you can make it a potato. No matter what settings you run, you'll only really notice when you change depth quality, in my opinion. At least on, you know, a 1920 or a 4K screen, you're really not going to notice too much of it. How do you connect QnA with this software? Can I link it with QnA on PC? You can, but you need hardware. Sorry, I'm staring at a fader that's not freaking out, but just flickering. You need MA hardware, so you need a node or an NSP. I'm looking around because I've got NSPs around me. Or a node or a command wing, just a piece of MA hardware. As I said before, hopefully there's a not really a survey, there's a poll running that is asking MA to review the way that they treat sort of previs. So if you want to be a part of that, search out Tim Rutledge's little, the word is like P, but I can't remember what, it's not a partition, it's a, anyway. Currently you require MA hardware. Hopefully that'll change with MA3. Right now, all of the visualizers require hardware, be that Wig, be that Vision, all of them. So for those unaware, there are two visualizers that you can use parameter free without any MA hardware. Vision and WYSIWYG. And with MA3, that all goes away. That's a long-standing agreement that has now expired. Petition. Thank you very much, both of you. Petition. There's a petition to have MA review the way that they deal with parameters, so that even if you've got an MA, like a light, you can program shows that are over your parameter count. So designing the show that we're running currently, I hit my parameter count. So with the unlimited version, which is what we're essentially running here, just slightly cut down with the amount of fixtures, you can do 2,000 fixtures, and I've got a desk that can do only 4,096 parameters, which means that unless I patched, you know, half of those as dimmers, I'm going to hit my parameter count quite quickly, especially when I'm running JDCs and stuff. So I would be, you know, I would be very excited to see them do something with parameters. I mean, there are ways around it. You could sort of like VPN into MPUs, not MPUs. You could VPN into NSPs or nodes, but that'll only bring you up to your on-PC parameter count. I think honestly with MA, they're going to do something where you've got a dongle or something, or they're going to use the capacity that MA3 has where it connects to the internet. Where if you plug it into the internet, it goes, hello, Grand MA3, you know, serial number I don't even know what the serial number of mine is, 1001, let's say, you are a legitimate piece of hardware, you can go on and do your prevising. Because that was where the issue came with MA2. So up until version 2.9, L8, or as it was called back then, like Converse, had parameter-free visualization. And it was awesome. And it worked, and you just could visualize anything you wanted as if it was MA3D. And then at some point the Chinese and the copy consoles snuck in, and they had to change the way that they did it. Essentially, someone took apart the MA net protocol and created sort of an MA net to ArtNet application, and that was it. MA just went, nope, we're not doing it anymore. Is there an option to make the align better? In Camsys, for example, the tilt is always adjusted when you're using the line so you can focus on one spot. See, I don't mind the align in MA2. That's not the answer you wanted, is it? So if we sort of, I could probably use the tilt, but if we reset the pad, I need a flat truss of fixtures to do it. So if I grab our trusty Levantes and we send them out here, we center them. So if we use the align tool to bring them in, we can bring them into the center. Look, I don't mind it, but maybe I'm used to it. I know that there are better ways of doing it, but for like symmetrical stuff, I've ended up just keying in values. So, you know, minus 137 through 137 will give me way too much coverage, but you get an idea, you get an even spread, and you're always going to have to adjust anyway, because the align tools, no matter what desk you're using, are great, but when someone hangs your fixtures in slightly the wrong spot, you're still going to have to manually go in and tweak that one and tweak your next one and then the next one and then so on and so forth. So yeah, it's good, but I don't mind it. I don't see the issue that people would have in MA 2 or 3. Any other questions before we finish up? It's been a good stream. Many questions asked. I should actually go through some of the questions that people have asked off stream. Not that they're shy, just I get a bunch of questions through the YouTube channel and they just are sometimes hard to answer. So what computer do I use? So we're using a desktop, so it's actually a 2-computer setup. You can probably see in the wide shot I've got a laptop sitting next to me, which is just a MetaBox, a MetaBox with an RTX 2070 in it. That's doing video encoding. The signal you're seeing in front of you comes from just a Logitech webcam. I had, oh hello, I'm pointing at it. I had a lovely camera on loan for a little while, but that had to go back. So I've gone back to the Logitech webcam. Honestly, it works quite well. The exposure needs to be tweaked a bit. And then the actual L8 screen that you see is coming off a separate gaming tower computer, which has a GTX 1080 and a Intel i7 7000 something K and 16 or 32 gig of RAM. And then the MA capture is an industry secret. I only say that because I spent so much trying to make the damn thing work. In MA3, will video be implemented and how will it work? So, Pro Light and Sound 2 years ago, they said that with MA3 you'll be able to run an inbuilt media server off the console, which sounds really cool. And you know what, I'm not going to say I'm not all for it, but my lighting desk is not a media server. Look, it'd be good. I like the fact that with the MA2 we can do nice pixel mapping and soft, you know, low polygon stuff like that, but I don't want it to drive the LED screen, because that throws out the whole like primary and backup thing. I don't want to have to lose DisplayPort out so that I can run, you know, run video. With great gaming laptops getting as good as they're getting, with having, you know, this one's got an RTX 2070 in it. Why do I need to do, you know, why do I need to have it in my lighting desk? It serves me no purpose. So yes, I think MA3 will do video on board, and the way that MA3 software deals with media servers is a lot better. But yeah, it'll probably do video, but I probably won't use it. I'll probably use it in a pinch, but I'm not going to send out a tour going, you know, screw that disguise thing, I'm just going to run MA3 VPU or whatever they end up calling it. But maybe I'm a little bit old-fashioned like that. Speaking of training though, ACT Lighting, the US distributor, ACT Lighting, which stands for Architectural, Concert and Touring, I found out recently in one of their courses. All of their courses, thousands of dollars worth of courses, is now free. So you can jump on their website, academy.actlighting.com, key in the code that they advertise to you quite openly, which is ACT4, the letter 4, me, and you can do all their courses, do their MA2, do their MA3, do their conversion course, learn about ACT Lighting. It's a really fantastic resource, and there are a lot of other resources out there that definitely let you do things. Sorry, I have to take a selfie. Someone is like, "Are you going to do a stream tonight?" And I'm like, "I'm doing a stream right now." How does the MA3 mouse? So the 3D mouse that I've been using is a 3D Connection space mouse. So it works with a lot of software. It works with L8, as you can see, quite well, and it also works with Vectorworks. And basically, it takes a little bit of learning to get really used to, but once you've used it for a little while, this and your mouse become best friends, because you can do everything you need to do and still use your mouse to sort of navigate around and like grab objects and do whatever you need to do. So I'll come into full screen view so you can see it a bit better. So if I twist the head, we can see that we sort of twist around. If I pull the stick up, we go up. If I push it down, we go down. If I push the entire body of it forwards, we go forwards. So once you get good, you can sort of, you know, back in the days before we had DMX cameras, you can sort of do these quite nice tracking shots. I've had a little bit of too much coffee, can you tell? That's why I'm not a follow spot operator. But you can do these really nice sort of quick pull in and out shots. I love it. So it's a 3D space mouse. Hello, lighting nerds. Hello, Craig. Yeah, I was replying to you. We've been looking at L8 and we've been answering questions on my space mouse. Craig messaged me. He's like, "Oh, we should stream tonight." Craig, I'm definitely down to stream. I'm more than happy after I'm done with this to go. Like, I need to obviously take my green screen out, but I'm happy to do a lighting nerds thing. I'll probably need a glass of water though. 3D connection space mouse. Don't buy the wireless one. The wireless one is not good. Well, it's good, but just the amount of finite control you require, I wouldn't trust over 2.4 gigahertz wireless. You're going to be close to the system anyway. You may as well just use USB extenders. Locking the horizon in Cinema 4D is super important when using that thing. Buy the thing. Oh, locking the horizon. Oh, when you're using the space mouse. I could not work out what you were talking about when you were messaging me. So there you go. Another piece of software that works in really well is Cinema 4D. So Cinema 4D, for those who are unaware, is for people that like to create renders that aren't realistic. So those are those artistic renders with really, really bright Parkan 64s and stuff like that. Just like stupid stuff that looks amazing, but apparently wins tenders and stuff. Would you recommend using a multi-touch screen on the 3 for MA2 button layout, or use the hard keys? This is probably the more painful way. So the way that I've got my MA3 set up is I still have it set to the MA2 hard keys, because I go between the MA3 and the MA2. So while most of the hard keys are there and I always try to use them, I always seem to end up having the MA2 keys back on the screen, just so that, especially when I'm doing streaming, I don't look like an idiot when I can't find the damn select button. Also notice people at wing gigs. Yes, I'm not salty about it. I just... It is the world that we live in. We deal with artistic renders over more realistic renders. And as long as you've got the budget to back that, that's great. But, you know... I've just seen some ridiculous stuff recently that it's just like, yeah, cool, and how are you going to achieve this? What are these lights? Oh, they're just a light I found on the internet. Cool, great. But I've always been a bit of a salty individual. Someone recently got me on a rant about pay and stuff. And they said, oh yes, I remember reading your little article about underpayment. And it's like, oh, am I really that bad that I just sort of rant on stuff? I just like people to being paid properly. It's not about gouging the market. But yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm getting old. I'll be 30 this year. I'm losing my hair. And maybe I'm slightly grumpy. And unemployed. 6-year-old kids who undercut because their mum bought them Cinema 4D. Yeah, I wish. No. No, it's not the 6. Well, sometimes it's the 16-year-old kids, but mostly it's creative organisations. Yeah, Craig, who represents Lighting Nerds, is a Cinema 4D freak. He loves it. I mean, don't get me wrong. We can do it in L8 as well if you know, if you decide that you want these Parkans to not kick out 2000 lumens. You know, let's say they're a 50k fixture, brighter than the sun. We can do that. And then where are the pars? Hang on, let me find those pars. But like, they're not realistic. Like, that looks like an amazing look, doesn't it? Just this punch of like 9-inch nails style. Oh wow, it's not working on the pars that I created. Oh, because the dimmer curve is broken now. But you know, if we ran like a dimmer chase, look how cool that looks, and oh my god, that's amazing. But your real show isn't going to look like that. So it's, you know, I prefer to sell on reality than sell on just like lies. You can't. Yeah, well, yeah. So you can't program real time in Cinema 4D. No, you deal with frames rather than like video files. But you know, hey, that stuff wins tenders. But you know what else wins tenders? Being able to just go, yeah, cool. Let's render out this amazingly cool show of lights doing stuff right in the software. So we render it out in 640 by 480, and we get it to do cool things. Maybe you use a DMX camera, and then it renders out as a 4K file. Okay, no worries. So no screen capture, none of that. Where's your God now, MA3D? Beautiful crisp file. Amazing. How powerful is your hardware? Your FPS looks super powered. Greg, we've been through specs. We've done specs, but if I type in this command, it should tell you. Maybe? So the system that we're running this off is a GTX 1080 powered system with an i7 processor. It's a couple of years old. There we go. i7 based tower with a GTX 1080 and 32 gig memory. L8 will run on a variety of systems. Well, I can fix my front light. We can make it not that. See, look. And I'll tell you what, I'll even dial in the CTO for you. Full CTO. I gotta set those pars back. Well, so here's the thing, Craig. So I had a user contact me today who said that they've got L8 running on an integrated Intel graphics card. They're only doing small stuff, but they can at least build files. So it will run on a variety of things. It's kind of really hard to tell if someone asks me, oh, will it run on my computer? You go, well, how big of a show are you running? Oh, we're only going to be running CE. It's only 64 fixtures. Yeah, it's probably going to run. It might run like a little bit of a pig if you're, strobing the crap out of it, but it will run. But if they go, oh, well, will L8 run on my computer, and it's a 10-year-old potato and you're doing 400 moving lights, then no, it's not. So it varies. So it runs on a various range of systems, is still the answer. Price for L8. L8 starts at 88 euros. If you're interested in that price, which gets you 64 fixtures and 2 universes, then you can use the promo codes, which are LXHughes, which will get you about 10% off, or LXHughes2 if you want the CE2. Anything above that, so like media and all that kind of stuff, you better to get a quote out of me via the website, and we can work something out, because there's a lot more price movement on that. But for CE and CE2, you just better use the 2 promo codes, which I will type into the chat right now for you. Can you set the ratio of how much beam you see with haze or fog from the lights? You can, so I can just turn down the smoke if that's what you mean. And yeah, as for distance, yeah, that's what depth does for you. So we can see if we turn down the depth, we can't see it from a long distance. The other handy feature that L8 has, which might interest Craig, is if we go into pay-per-view and we select some lights, we get a heat map, and we can see in the light's current position how much of an output it'll give. So if we select our, annoying park hands, we can see that we get a very, because it's not actually real and focused, we can see that we get a very large hotspot here. But we also get a lux reading, and it'd be the same with these blinders. We can see that, they're not going to be very punchy. We're seeing about 100 lux of 15 meters. Same with the magic panels and magic blades. The price for L8, hopefully I've got a command set up. I think I've got a command set up. I should just be able to go !L8 and have it respond. If not, it starts at 88 euros. Beer's empty. Normally it sits on this table, but it's empty. Yep, there you go. Just took a little while for Nightbot, but there's the link to where you can find information about it. So, say if there's a front of house wash, can you make it less visible to the haze? Like normally, since they're pointed away from you, the beam isn't as punchy in the air. Yes, so, yeah, sort of. So what you could do is, you can do what's called sort of off light. So what off light will do is it'll take the beams out totally. So you'll still have the punch, but you'll just have the glow of the lights. So if I do that, we'll compare the difference. So this is with off light. So if I bring up our blinders, we can see that we just get the lights. But if I then go back in and turn on light, we get the beams as well. So if you're just looking for eye candy, you could do it like that. My favorite thing with the augmented 3D. No. So it doesn't. It renders wide as white. So if you put a 700 and a Viper next to each other, they're not going to be as bright as each other, but the white's not going to be that hideous off white that a 700 is. Unfortunately, it's still going to think that it is white. Can you draw up a plot in Capture and import it into L8? What formats can you get out of Capture? If it's, if you can go through a mezzanine format, such as, let me check my crib sheet, such as 3ds or FBX, then yes. If you can bring it through Vectorworks, we can do a direct Vectorworks import. You could even take a MA XML, like a patch XML file. So let's say you've got an MA 3D file, and you could dump it into L8 using a converter. You won't get any of your stage objects like people or any of that, but you'll get your lights in the correct positions. I love that Instagram tells me about other people streaming like hours after they've started. So a friend of mine, Zoe Spratling, has apparently done a stream 11 hours ago. But it, you know, Instagram's only told me about it now. It's always glorious. If we don't have any other questions, we might wrap it up so I can go and stream something else. Or record an episode. I'm not sure what we're doing, but I'll be probably, I don't know, we'll do something. It'll be exciting. I just love mirrors in LA. I can't wait until we get the bounce mirror upgrade where we can bounce lights off it. That just looks amazing. What is your screen layout in MA2 and why? So, not a good example. Program V3. So this is the way my desk normally looks in MA2. So the big thing for me, and I've been through this before, is sometimes I'm on an ultralight, sometimes I'm on a light, sometimes I'm graced with the beauty of a full size, which is too long for me. I have to reach and it hurts. We need a wheelie chair to get up to each end. Basically all my views run across the bottom, so no matter what desk I can jump on, let's say it was a full size, I'd go like groups, presets, and then the third one would be effects. If I update any of these, I can, you know, they all update automatically. If I update one, they all update, but it means that I can call whatever I need onto whatever screen I need. And I've found this is the better way of doing things rather than having layouts that, sorry, screen layouts that depend on the screen. Oh, you mean your night, Craig? Ah, okay. Okay, so I hope you're streaming. So I get a bit more time then. Yeah, tomorrow won't work. I've got to move offices. Maybe. I don't know. I'll talk to you. We'll talk. My people will call your people. Well, unless we've got any more questions, we might wrap up the stream anyway. Alright, thank you everyone. Oh hey Benny, I didn't see you there. Thanks for coming down and playing. I think it's kind of towards the end of the stream, but at least, you know, we got to watch something happen and it was cool. Let me just jump to YouTube and end the stream. Thanks for coming everyone. It is nice to hang out with you and ask questions and, you know, work through crazy problems.